Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Friday, April 26th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen generally drier conditions over the southern and eastern side of the Great Basin, along with up in Idaho. The only areas that have seen precipitation really have been over parts of central and northeast Nevada, into southern Idaho and northwest Utah, and even these areas are mostly below normal for the time of year. We have had some new snowfall with some cooler systems that have moved through, but mainly just in the higher elevations. You can see some new snowfall in the 3 to 6 inch range mostly, with a few spots above 6 inches in northeast Nevada. Otherwise, the higher terrain of central Idaho into Wyoming and far northern Utah, along with some other local areas, have seen some new snowfall. You can see the snow depth on the right. And for the time of the year, we still are trending near normal in many areas of Nevada into western Utah and parts of the Arizona Strip and even southeast Idaho. However, the snow does continue to melt with these warmer temperatures and drier conditions we've seen recently, so we are seeing now below normal snowpack for parts of central and southwest Idaho and eastern Utah. Our satellite loop from this morning shows low pressure trending across the Great Basin, so we are seeing some cloud cover. We'll see some gustier winds and some precipitation moving across the area today. So for later today, you can see the bulk of the moisture will be over really the eastern 2/3 of the Great Basin, with just some lighter showers in the western side. We do have some winter weather advisories out for parts of eastern Nevada and also parts of the higher terrain of central and northern Utah mountains, so we will see some new snowfall in those areas, and good dispersion almost region-wide across Idaho, Nevada, and southern and eastern Utah with these gustier winds. And you can see the transport winds are generally strongest over the southern half of Nevada into southern Utah, with gusts mostly in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range at the peaks. Mixing heights will remain definitely fluctuate across the Great Basin, but generally high. Temperatures will be below normal across the Great Basin, with low pressure moving across, with highs mostly in the 50s in the lower elevations, 60s in the far south, and then we will see highs in the 40s and 50s in the higher elevations. Relative humidity will also remain elevated with this system moving through, so no concerns there, with all areas generally above 30%. As we move into Saturday, this area of low pressure tracks further east into parts of Colorado, so we will see drying conditions from west to east going into the weekend. We'll still see some breezy winds, so it will keep dispersion higher across many areas of the Great Basin. And you can see on Saturday, mostly the gustier winds will be over central areas of the Great Basin, and mixing heights will remain high. On Saturday, temperatures will start to rise. We will see valley temperatures reaching the low to mid 60s over the western half of the Great Basin and mid to upper 70s in the far south. Relative humidity will start to dry out over western and southern areas, and you can see that with some areas in southern Nevada dropping below 20%. On Sunday, we will see more of a westerly flow. However, most areas drier across the Great Basin with good dispersion. Winds will still remain somewhat breezy over southern Idaho into Wyoming and also the mountains of central Utah, with downslope northwest winds, generally in the 25 to 30 mile per hour range. Mixing heights will remain high. Temperatures again continue to warm over all areas of the Great Basin. We will see valley temperatures reaching the low 70s over western areas and the low 80s for far southern Nevada, and generally upper 50s to low 60s elsewhere across the Great Basin. Relative humidity will remain below 20% in the far south and generally between about 25 and 30% in all other areas. 3-day precipitation, you can see with the system moving through, the heavier precipitation will be across western and northern Utah, again with those winter weather advisories for the higher elevations from Ely eastward. Otherwise, most areas will see at least some precipitation with some good showers across parts of Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and even southeast Idaho. Some of the drier spots might be parts of central Nevada, but also southwest Idaho. Going forward into next week, we will see a weak system move across northern areas of the Great Basin, so some showers returning to Idaho with cooler temperatures. Otherwise, breezy westerly flow in all areas, keeping dispersion higher. And on Tuesday, similar conditions with those showers in the far north. And then on Wednesday, the system starts to exit with warmer and drier conditions. Still some breezy winds, so we will keep dispersion higher in most areas. And we will see a return of drier conditions with possibly lighter winds going into the middle of next week. So looking at the precipitation for days 4 and 5, this takes us from Monday through Wednesday. Again, you can see generally just showers in the north across Idaho into Wyoming and far northern Utah, with drier conditions across the rest of the Great Basin. And then we will see a drier pattern going into the middle of next week in most areas with just a few spotty showers. And then the 7-day total precipitation, again, much of which will occur here in the next few days. So you can see again just those dry spots in parts of southwest Idaho, possibly southwest Nevada, but for the most part, all areas at least seeing some light precipitation with heavier amounts in central and eastern Idaho and Wyoming and down into Utah. Our 8 to 14 day outlook taking us from May 3rd through the 8th shows cooler than normal conditions in the far west, but warmer temperatures over much of the Great Basin, and we will see a return of some wetter weather towards the middle of the month, especially over the western half of the region. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.